Hello there and welcome to the Coffee with Colm, and thank you for joining. A friend of mine, John Webb O'Rourke, came up with the title for this week's Coffee with Colm, and that is Perseverance. And when I began to think about it, I began to realise that in fact all of us have already demonstrated everything that we need to know about perseverance, and that is when we all learned to walk all those years ago, because there's only one way to learn how to walk, and that is by trying, failing, learning, readjusting, trying again, failing again, learning, readjusting, trying again, repeat. That's the only way any of us ever learned to walk. And they're all the qualities that are required in terms of persevering at anything in life. We've already demonstrated, all of us, that we can do so. So why is it that roll on some years and all of a sudden we've got challenges around persevering? Babies, when they're learning to walk, firstly they've got a big why. They want to learn to walk. It looks like fun. Second is they're not afraid of failing because they've no fear. And third is they've got tremendous support. Think about it. Think about it. Any of us seeing a baby taking their first steps for the first time, we're full of support and encouragement and love, and you can do it. Isn't it great? You're doing great. Don't worry about falling down. Get back up. Go again. Congratulations. Fantastic. Roll on a few years and all of us have developed fears. We've developed fears around failure. We've developed fears around what other people might say. There's a dictionary definition of perseverance, and I'll stick on the specs and read it for you if I may. It says perseverance is a noun, and it goes on to say that perseverance is persistence in doing something despite difficulty or delay in achieving success. So perseverance is doing something despite the difficulty or despite any delay in achieving success. That's how we all learn to walk. It's how anybody who's done anything worthwhile in this world has actually overcome and done something, because they've persevered. So here's the challenge for you and I think, in terms of perseverance. We oftentimes look at other people from the outside, and we look at other people living dream lives, if you like, and they're living lives in full technicolor. Everything that they touch seems to be turning to gold. Everything that they do seems to be producing results that you and I perhaps can be somewhat envious of. And the question is, what have they done differently? And truthfully, I think the answer lies in they've simply persevered long enough. You see, there isn't a person on the planet that doesn't have fears. There isn't a person on the planet that doesn't have challenges. Not everybody that you and I see living life in full technicolor was born with a silver spoon in their mouth, that's for sure. You see, it's got nothing to do with how we were brought up, nothing to do with the ovarian lottery, nothing to do with our actual birth circumstances. Yes, it might have been somewhat easier for some than others. Some may have been shown a different view of the world, a larger view of the world perhaps than many others. But once you and I got to the point where we were 18, from that moment on it was about us looking in the mirror, and if we're going to point the finger at anybody, it's about pointing the finger at the person in the mirror, because we finally have to accept responsibility that if it's to be, it's up to me. You see, if I want to be healthy, it's up to me to exercise. If I want to learn more stuff, it's up to me to read books. If I want to have a quality life, it's up to me to take care of myself. If I want to achieve success in my career, it's up to me, not up to anybody else. Same goes for you, same goes for John Webb O'Rourke. So why is it that all of us have demonstrated to ourselves, we know for sure, full sure, that we have the perseverance to achieve anything we want because we learned to walk? Why is it that in later life that we find it so difficult? I asked John Webb O'Rourke himself what he would say if somebody asked him about perseverance, and he said it's very simple. He says, if you want it bad enough, stick with it. And it's so true. If you want it bad enough, stick with it. We all wanted to walk badly enough and we stuck with it right through the failures. And as a result, we failed our way to success. It's the same in everything. You want it bad enough, stick with it. You know that phrase, throwing in the towel? It's a boxing phrase where if the boxer is too beat up to continue, well, the coach will in fact throw in the towel, and that is match over. In the stuff that you and I have to do in our lives, it's entirely up to us whether we throw in the towel or not. And it's always too early to throw in the towel. It's always too early to throw in the towel. You can always park throwing in the towel until tomorrow if you need to take a break. But it's always too early to throw in the towel. So perseverance, if you want something bad enough, stick with it. Why do people not stick with stuff? I think fear comes into it. Fear of failure, fear of success, I think, comes into it. I think the ovarian lottery has a part to play. I think those very people who encouraged us to learn how to walk are perhaps the same people who, with the greatest of love and respect for us, don't want us to get hurt. So they sort of say, oh, be careful. You know, nobody from your background ever did what it is you're planning to do. Just be careful. We don't want you to get hurt. And in doing so, inadvertently, sometimes they can rob our dreams. They can rob our perseverance. So for perseverance to work in your favor, you first need a burning why. You need to know why it is you're going to go through some of the pain that you're going to have to go through. That's the first thing. The second thing is you must persevere, simple as. And the third thing is you must persevere how long? Until. You must persevere until. It's very simple. You need a burning why, you need to persevere, and you need to persevere until. And interestingly, I was talking with John, as I mentioned, about perseverance, and John had a really interesting story to tell me. He's just out of hospital. Okay, he's just out of hospital after 5 days, and I asked him, "What's the story, John?" He said, "Well, first of all, it's great news. Everything is fine." So I said, "Well, how did you end up in hospital?" He said, "Wait till I tell you." He said that he has a vision around primary care medical centres, and he took the first step towards that on the 9th of July 2009. Right, 9th of July 2009, he took the first step towards that vision, and he kept taking steps and kept taking steps and kept taking steps and kept taking steps and persevered until the 26th of July 2018. That's 9 years, 2.5 weeks later. 9 years, 2.5 weeks later, the ink dried on the contract that guaranteed John Webb O'Rourke's vision for his primary healthcare facilities. Fantastic. Fantastic. Great news, right? Real story of persevering. So why did he end up in hospital? Because on the morning of the 27th, which was only last week, right? On the morning of the 27th, his body said, "Right, John, job done. We're taking a break." And quite literally, his body, it wasn't stress. It was in fact the opposite of stress. It was release, because he had achieved his vision after 9 years, 2.5 weeks. And his body said, "Right, John, we're taking a break." And they went into hospital for 5 days. Thankfully, all is great. He's got all the tests done, and he's rocking and rolling and heading on to the next phase of his vision. And we wish him every success. So my friend, if you want to achieve something, you've got to have a why. Why do you want it? And then you got to start taking steps towards it, and then you got to persevere, and you got to persevere for how long? You got to persevere until. And I'm going to finish, if I may, with a quote from a former American president, Calvin Coolidge. And he says, he speaks of persistence. He says, "Nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent." And I speak on behalf of John Webb O'Rourke and myself and every achiever out there in wishing you every success that you're willing to persevere for. And thank you for joining me for this week's Coffee with Colm. I hope and trust that you got something from it. If you have done, you think somebody else would benefit, I'd be delighted if you'd pass the link on. If it's your first time here and you'd like more of this type of stuff, well then go to the homepage, ColmO'BrienMotivation.com, leave me some details. I'll make sure you get a link like this on a weekly basis. Most importantly, please consider what's been shared here today and apply it into your thinking for this next few days. And then equally as importantly, please come back next week. We'll share another coffee together and I'll ruminate on some other aspect of life and business. Between now and then, I recommend you get some good coffee. I recommend you get some fresh air, get some R&R. If you spend a lot of time with people, I recommend you spend some time alone. Conversely, if you spend a lot of time alone, I recommend you go meet some people. And then when the time is right, and only when the time is right, get your head back in the game, get organised for the week ahead, get stuck in, persevere, make a difference, make next week count, and I'll see you here this time next week for another Coffee with Colm. Sláinte. I really love great coffee. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.